Oh, we got a big show today on the Bobby Carpenter Show, and love to welcome you guys in. Welcome in my dude, Mr. Anthony Schlegel, back in the saddle. I mean,
Back.
had our guy AJ on. AJ was worried about you, and then I had your guy AT, Antonio Turner, which like I can barely remember his first name and last name because we just call him AT all the time. Talk a little bit about strength training, what's going on, difference between combine training, season training, hardest workers, all these different elements. So dove on into that. Wanted to start off this show though with some draft talk and where everything is there. First round of the NFL draft will be tonight. That's going to be big. And with that, there's going to be the opportunity for a handful of Buckeyes to get drafted. Now, I talked to Albert Breer earlier today, and he's about as locked in as you can find. So he's about as locked in as you're fine. Here you're so talk for a minute because I gotta do something. We gotta do something technical wise, okay?
Okay, good. I'll talk to him a minute. You're talking to Albert Breer, and I have no clue what you said. So that's fantastic. But I will say this. Tonight's interesting. Pat, if you can. Oh, there's Bob. Bob's back. Hey, look at that guy. So
okay.
hot right now.
So I talked to Breer a little bit. We had a little failure to launch there. First of all, how was Jacksonville? Like, how was Hunter's game? Did we win? We still playing?
Yeah,
surviving advance?
Right now, where we are in the thick of everything is we are in the quarterfinals of 7A regional baseball. And in Florida, you have to win 3-game series. So to win your region, you play a quarterfinal 3-day series. You play, and it's at the home of the highest seeded team. That makes sense, right? So, and I love it because we got really deep pitching, and we're playing the team that won the regional last year, and we won last night 3-0. They have to travel all the way back from Orlando tonight to play game 2, and if you go to game 3, you go to a Saturday, and then on game 3 you go to that team. So I love it. It's a 3-game series all the way into the regional finals, and then after regional finals, boom, you're hitting state championships, and that's just a one game winner loser, type deal. So they're in a good spot. They played really, really well last night, and we got game 2.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. We have the draft though tonight, as I mentioned. A couple of Buckeyes that could be drafted in the first round. I think 4 to be exact. It's really interesting. I think Josh Simmons probably has the highest ceiling of all of the guys going in tonight, but you've got Emeka, I think has probably the greatest likelihood, assurance for safest first round pick. And then I think you also have Travion Henderson and Donovan Jackson, who I've heard stuff from, that guys rumblings that they could both maybe slide up in there with everything that's going on. So pretty exciting there for those guys and their opportunities tonight. I know there's some teams that really like Trey for his explosiveness out of the backfield and really just like the type of dude he is, which has been true kind of for everybody that they've seen here. But there's been some teams that have liked that. So I think the high end 4, I think Ohio State gets 2 for sure. Don't know if we'll see more than that though.
Yeah, it was funny, Bob.
Like funny.
I was actually, it was funny because so last night yesterday I'm flying to Jacksonville, and in the airport was Jay Mosley. Jay is the head golf coach for the men's golf team at Ohio State. I'm at Starbucks. He sees me. He's like, dude, I'm listening to you all the time. Can you come talk to the dudes? Because they won the Big Ten. And now they're going to the Big Ten tournament. And so I went over there and just melted faces as I always do. And I was wearing my Waffle House Ready t-shirt. And he just they all thought that was phenomenal. And then there was just a random guy that stopped while I was giving this talk of just melting faces with positive juice. And we were talking literally about the draft. And then the guy walked off I love listening to you and Carpenter. I was like, absolutely, morning juice. Let's go, RIP. So I say all that to where, as I was talking to them, and I brought up Power of the Unit, and there was a great clip
in
of
golf.
This. Yeah. Well, just we were talking about, again, it's an individual sport played as a team, and you kind of can it immediately popped into my mind this great visual. I don't know where it is on the show sheet, but they were talking about in the wide receiver room, all these guys being drafted, and Emeka has a chance of being like the sixth guy of that room to all go first rounds. But the point I was tying together was competitive excellence, pushing each other, holding each other accountable to the standard, right? When you're playing your one-on-ones, just that mindset that's required to be able to do that. And then ultimately, what have these guys been able to do throughout their career? Yeah, there it is right there, Pat. I appreciate you throwing that up. And the guy made an off quote, like, how many do you think is getting drafted tonight? And I was like, man, I would hope 16. I don't care about records that Ohio State holds, the draft record or whatever. But what I do care about is the way that they've approached it, that they've put themselves in the opportunity to be drafted, the development that they've gotten at Ohio State, the accountability within their own units, within their own offense or defense, within the team. Like, that's the beauty of when I look at a draft from a holistic of it's Ohio State and let's get 14, let's get 15, let's get 16. But to me, like you said, with Emeka being that guy that's safe, and then that clip of what that is from that room, that's just a powerful statement as to, regardless of where you go at Ohio State, man, you are getting developed and you're putting yourself in an opportunity to be successful at the next level. And Emeka is that kind of guy. So you talk about the ceiling, and guys, there's so many different mock drafts that are out there. Like, who cares? Okay. Who cares, man? They're going to get called one way or another. And this is honestly, because it's not such a quarterback heavily draft, but there's so much depth within those like first 100 picks. I think the product that's coming out of college now is like just really, really good. And so I'm interested to see where the fits go. I mean, would I want to see Trevion and Donnie and Josh Simmons and Emeka go first round, and maybe even Tyleek sneaking in there? I would love that. But who knows when it's going to happen. My biggest thing is that they go to a team that values them and the right opportunities so that they can have success in the future. That's what I care about the most.
Absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I've got this piece that I want to watch on Emeka here. We'll do that in the next segment with everything that's going on, because I didn't even realize this about him, and watched this video that was online that Ohio State produced and with his father, and it made a lot of sense, talking about the responsibility of his last name and everything else. And now I understand why Emeka is the way he is. Like, it makes perfect sense when you see how he was raised. We got some NIL buyout stuff that we got to get talking about.
Oh my gosh, this is so great.
Yeah, we're going to throw out a poll as well. How many Buckeyes are going to get drafted tonight? I think the answer is probably 1, 2, 3, or 4 would probably be your answers, potentially with that. So we'll toss that out. And then also we've got some stuff about the house settlement, but I don't want to get too much into that right now, just given so much that we have for the draft from today and tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of things going on as well, but I do want to get to this little portal combat before we move on to the next segment. But portal combat, Ohio State looking in the portal, looking for some D linemen and defensive linemen out there. And it was breaking that they finally were able to land. He was crystal balled here. A lot of interest reportedly. Ohio State needs some D-line. Now, they need interior guys probably more than edge, but Bo Atkinson, the defensive end out of North Carolina, I think he had 7.5, 8 sacks, led the Tar Heels last year, 6'4", 6'5", big dude, 265 pounds, productive player, going to be committing now to the Buckeyes. So I think really the only other position, and I don't even know if that was really a position of need. He's just a really darn good football player. So you bring on good football players when you need them. But I think probably defensive tackle is the only other place they're really looking, unless some sort of absolute gem just fell in their lap.
And he's a big guy. I mean, there was another thing that was out there. I think they had him listed at 6'6", Bob. And when I was in college, I was 6'2.5", right? And I'm really 6'1.5". So, they measured me in my cleats. But they had him at 6'6", 265, and they had KJ at like 6'6", 258. I think he's actually over 260 now. But again, when you go back and look at last year, like, we had really big defensive ends, like really big humans. But I also think that there's a lot of different things that they're thinking about schematically that they can do with some of those DNs. And you're absolutely spot on, Bob. Like, we need another big time guy that has some like longevity, a younger guy, like that guy out of Oklahoma would be a great, we need another interior defensive lineman. we need somebody that has played a lot of snaps that can come in and create that competitive excellence within that room. Maybe either nudge some guys or just like to help them elevate their games, right? As they're fighting for playing time. Like, and again, we saw last year, everybody was screaming, Larry Johnson, you got to rotate, you got to rotate. Larry Johnson rotated, man. But that's because we had two really good dudes. K-Mac showed up a little bit on some goal line stands. Hero Canoe showed up. Boom, he's out, right? He's at Texas. Spreckety Deutsch. And you need another guy in there. So that's it. I'm with you, Bob. I think they've done a really, really nice job of getting people that have bought in to the program, to the culture. There's one more piece missing. That's an interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, they got to find
and probably in that veteran quarterback depth.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the last piece, the veteran quarterback depth. If they could get that, that's a bonus. If not, you roll with what you've got and you feel pretty good about it. I do think that they're going to be really looking and diving in for that defensive tackle. And so I wouldn't be surprised if over the next week you hear some news about the defensive tackle. The thing is, this second portal is heavily financial, and you're getting a lot of one-year guys that are coming in. And while program is important, dollars might be the thing that drives it. And Ohio State's never been someone that wants to go in there and outbid other programs. And I don't think that's something that you want to get in the habit of doing. So you've got to be certain the guys you're bringing in, are they the character? Are they the fit? All of those things that you're looking for, especially when they're not going to have a spring ball to get integrated. It's summer, it's camp, and then it's go time. So we got that as well. Some big stuff with Emeka Egbuka I want to get into and talk a little bit about, as well as NIL stuff, what's going on with the House settlement, which matters because that's going to be the governing rules for the next decade if they can get that ever formed up. So we need to understand what the rules are they're going to be playing with. But first, before we move on, we'll tell you guys all about my friends over at Export. Attention parents and athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL team dentists. Export guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit to your own unique smile. They 3D print that bad boy in there. It means more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today to save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. A nice little nugget about Emeka Egbuka and find out the type of guy he is and why the way he is coming up next. All right, welcome back to the Bobby Carpenter Show, and it's a little bit longer piece. But if you people have raved about Emeka Egbuka, and they rave about that receiver room and the 5 previous guys that have gone first round, and really the type of character that most of them have.
That's so crazy.
And then you see, Emeka, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, Schlegs. Have you taken a look at it? It's pretty powerful stuff. It's really good. And I had no idea that Emeka was Nigerian. And then after seeing this, I've got some Nigerian friends, guys who I worked with at ESPN, and they're very structured and very disciplined. And that usually is a trait that is passed on from their parents. They run very strict households. There's expectations there. I believe this is at the top, if I'm not mistaken. Well, maybe not. Maybe I didn't even put this in here. This is another thing. Oh, Schlegs didn't put it in there.
I think this is it right here.
All right.
It's somewhere. So many guys, there's so many nuggets. Like, I just want to give a preview to everybody, okay? So this is our life. Bob and I and this group chat, and we're finding just gems, and nuggets of stuff. And they're like, there's so many of them that are like the exact same thing, but where you get the content is where it is. So I don't even know, but I'm pretty sure this is the one that you're referring to.
This is the one. This is the one. Maybe I thought I put it in, I didn't. But this is Emeka. It's a 2-part, Pat, so you have to click through as we roll. But it's pretty darn good.
Emeka. It means God has done many great things. I would say my dad was very instrumental in my role of growing up. He's definitely laid the groundwork for what it looks like for me to be a man and someone I can strive to be like every day because of his high integrity, his high character, his high work ethic. That just comes with his morals and ethics being from Nigeria. Excellence is definitely the standard. We are called to do everything to the highest of our ability.
I think it might have something to do with the fact that the Igbos of Nigeria, which is my tribe, a minority, the major tribe but still a minority in the country, and they lost the Civil War and had to be reintegrated back into society. So coming up, you had to be excellent to compete in the whole big country.
When I was younger, I was in the car. He was mad at me. And the reason he was mad at me was because I didn't do something to the highest degree. I didn't do it to excellence, and I didn't honor my name doing it. Your last name's Egbuka, and that means something. You don't just brush it off. That's kind of the mentality I've carried on throughout my entire life.
We forged a very strong relationship. So he was always around me. It was not that I was intentionally trying to push him. It was just my nature, right? That's all I knew. And then he pushed himself.
When I was
It's amazing when he says, like, hey, your last name's Egbuka, and that means something. And I've always tried to understand, like, and understanding that now and the way that his dad raised him and everything that goes into that, Schlegs, like being around Mech, it all makes perfect sense given how he was raised and what was emphasized in the household around them.
Yeah, and again, when we talk about recruiting, you're recruiting the parents, right? And that's a fact. And when you see that, my first impression of Emeka Egbuka when I got to work with him at Ohio State, and AT is the one that handles a lot of the skill guys. He just handled his business. He was just a consummate pro, and that's just even from our interactions, like the year before Bob on the Buckeye Cruise, how he acted. I'm like, dude, this is a great dude. Two, he's an absolute pro. In his 20s, and I'm like, this is fantastic. The Buckeyes got something here, but I want to preface this. It's like, you don't have to be from Nigeria to raise your children that way and understand that the standard is the standard. I talk to my kids all the time about every time you step out of this house, you have your last name is Schlegel, man. So you don't not only represent yourself, but you represent me and your mother. Like, what are you doing? How are you representing that? How are you going to teammate that way? How do you handle yourself with adults? Like that all matters. And Emeka is taking that, and to me, that standard of excellence is also why he came back, because he wanted to leave his legacy on that wide receiver room. Emeka could have left last year. Could have been probably a second-round pick, already been playing, already probably had a really good career, but he wanted to leave his mark on that and serve those teammates and raise their level and the expectation of that room. Did a phenomenal job. Obviously goes back. Well done, Mr. Egbuka.
Well, let's throw this up then too about Sam Monson had a tweet about
Yes.
Emeka being interesting, and
makes a lot of sense.
Something like he's one of the most interesting draft prospects to me because he's the perfect case study of the difference between evaluating a player and judging his value. Yeah. Almost every single report I've seen on him reads basically the same. Everybody sees him identically. The difference is in how you value that, because I don't think it's possible to evaluate. I mean, he's great short-term, intermediate routes, great in the slot, high-quality human, great hands, tough blocker, good long end speed, not crazy, has made a lot of plays, going to be an asset in the locker room. Like all of the different things that we've broken down in our player preview about him earlier are all true and factual. And so it's remarkable when you look at him that there's going to be teams that value that different ways. Like I was talking, someone about coaches and why they love him. Like, he became a first rounder to us because of how well he blocks. He's like, our receivers have to block. He can run all the routes. There's a lot of guys that can run all the routes and catch stuff. And you want to obviously have a guy that can do that to a really high level. But the fact that Emeka is an elite blocker, that's what elevates and separates him to us, unless you have some crazy elite and freaky traits. And in this draft, there's really not a lot of those guys. So for my money, I think he's probably the first off the board. I could see a world even where like it gets squirrely, like Trey, goes off pretty early, or he could slide to the top of the second. I mean, it's just this draft is so wild right now, Schlegs, because like you said, with the lack of quarterbacks up at the top to like anchor down certain spots after like the third pick, which I don't think Shador's going to Cleveland. So like you think of the top three guys going out. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot on who it could be. And there's probably what people say 10 blue chip players, but after that, then it even gets weirder when you start getting to 20 to like pick 60 to 70, because I don't think there's a big difference in value, like as far as player quality. It's simply, do they fit in your scheme and do they have the values that you want?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Bob. And to me, when you look at Emeka, I think the disservice at Ohio State, especially his senior year, you're also talking about the all-time leading reception yardage guy at Ohio State. But because of Carnell and Jeremiah Smith, he played that slot. But the year before, he was out on the perimeter, and he's already shown that he's fast enough. And so from year to year, Emeka, just based on what we do, he fit in what that added the most value to our team. And his senior year was in the slot. And so everybody has him pigeonholed into that. I think predicated upon where you go, he could be that number 2 guy on the perimeter. He could also be a slot guy. He could also be a guy where, and again, you guys are going to remember, man, like the NFL is so different because it's about, you got to always win your one-on-one matchups. And you might have a guy that's Devin Smith, okay? Boom. What was he at Ohio State? Home run hitter, deep ball type guy, not going to be out there like every single time in the NFL, but you know where you're getting him. It's, can you cover him? That's that one-off guy. But then Emeka could slide into the slot and still be on the field. He's going to be on the field the entire time. And so it goes back to this thing. What do you value as an organization? And if they value that role like a New England Patriots did with the Wes Welker in the slot, like it all kind of went through them and the tight end predominantly because it was about moving the chains and playing great defense. It's what do those individual teams value? And then who's also behind them that potentially values the same thing. And therefore, then I have to go get that guy. That's kind of how it's all going to shake out here.
All right. Emeka is one of our favorites. I think you get 2 Buckeyes. I don't know if you get a third or not. Potential for 4, but we'll see how it all shakes and breaks down. Coming up, some big news. We talked about the Nico Iamaleava landing at UCLA. His brother Madden Iamaleava leaving Arkansas and landing at UCLA as well. SEC isn't all that happy about it, and they're trying to get something changed. They're trying to get this figured out, and this is one of the unintended consequences with the portal, and we'll see if they can find a solution for it coming up next. So welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. Please subscribe, like, leave your comments, questions, anything for us. Please share it as much as you can. We really enjoy you tuning in and watching us. We have a ton of fun doing it, and hopefully you're enjoying this as well. But Arkansas on 3 was reporting, if we want to toss that up, Pat, that Arkansas, their NIL collective is demanding roughly $200,000 back from transfer QB Nico Iamaleava. And so they have that demanding that they're working on, that they want to have back as you throw that up. But they're not even the only ones. You start looking around and checking through the SEC and everywhere else. Like, this is the problem. Guys took money. You didn't even play a game. You weren't even there during the season. And then you're leaving. And yeah, they're going to want to get some of those dollars back. And right now, Nico or his brother, Madden took some and they want it back.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of reading the comments on here. Suing a transfer is a look. Like, guys, contracts, man.
Well,
Like you pay somebody to come to your school, the NIL things, right? There's so like based on what I know, there's certain things within that agreement that you have
well, as
to
of
be
late,
in. That's saying
you're
you got to
breaking.
make certain amount of appearances.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little, Schlegs. There's certain
I'm
things.
breaking up.
Yeah, within the agreement that as you look at, you've got to find a way to be able to have some enforceability in these deals. And whether it's playing all of your games, including a bowl game, whether it's making sure you stay there. And that's why a lot of these payments now don't come in lump sums. They're trickled out. Now there is some like bonus money sometimes at the beginning, but there are ultimately sometimes you have these issues where you paid and the guy he didn't even make it to camp. He didn't even, practice during a real fall and then take the money and run. And all of a sudden he's back somewhere else now. And so that's a problem. And the SEC and the Arkansas collective looking to ultimately sue maybe Nico. And I don't even know what the situation is with Tennessee as well, because, he had signed that deal with them and maybe that was one of the earlier on deals where there weren't as many teeth in there for being able to just opt out and leave. And that's why he felt like he could renegotiate at that point. But some people say it's a bad look to sue your guys when they leave like this. But my argument is you paid them and they didn't do anything. Like they came there, they didn't even stay at all for fall camp. They just chose to
Yeah.
leave in the spring portal. That to me is ridiculous.
Hey guys, by the way, my download's at 87.1 and my upload's at 90. So I think that's pretty decent. I have no clue what that means. Says your internet connection is very fast. So again, I apologize.
Stream is
I spent a
strong.
lot of money on my stream is always strong. I mean, I'm trying to blow out a hole in the back of the toilet, make sure everything's working properly. Hey, here's the thing though. If there's buyouts for coaches. And I don't understand how people don't understand this part and this aspect and why it hasn't already been addressed. But if I paid you for services and then you leave for these services and you don't uphold it, and it's in their contract that, hey, if you do leave prior to this, I need 50% of it back, then you have to pay 50% of it back. Like they're not going to say, oh, you know what? Hey, you know what? We appreciate your time here. You added a tremendous amount of value. Just keep it, keep it as, hey, we hope that you do great things at UCLA and not Arkansas. Like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's think about what the dad is thinking about here. Hey man, you had $2.4 million this year. Now you're getting 1.5 and you got all these taxes, but I'm going to take your brother's money and we're going to, you know what? He got 500,000
I'm
of
going to
that.
take your
So
brother's
let's just take
money.
some of that and offset those things. Again, it's a family. I don't know. Like, I don't know how they're, deciphering it in their minds, but they both went to UCLA. So it's like, hey, it's a summation of the whole, boys. We had to fill a $900,000 gap there. Your brother's bringing, another 250 that he didn't even do. So let's just add that to the pot and we'll just sprinkle it in a mixture. I don't know what what he's thinking, but they both went to UCLA. They both left two other colleges where they had NIL deals. So there should be some type of buyout or they have to repay it because they didn't fulfill the obligations of whatever that NIL contract was.
Yeah, and then with that, as we can throw this up about the House settlement. And so this started April 7th. That was supposed to be the ruling. Judge said she was going to take a longer look at this and try to put something out there and see what was going. If we want to throw that up, Pat. But I believe this is by Pete Thamel or actually Dan Murphy. Judge Claudia Wilkin declined to approve the House settlement in the order on Wednesday evening, citing plans to limit roster sizes as an untenable term. Plaintiff's attorney Steve Berman tells ESPN he's confident the NCAA will see the light and change roster limits. Now, this is something we've talked about, Schlegs, a little bit. We're going to dive into it a little more. The roster limits and limitations with what they've had, and it's always 105 that you've been able to take to camp, and maybe they even loosen that. But then outside of that, in spring ball and in once the season gets going, once students come in, you're allowed to then expand that roster. So you'd have enough guys to be able to practice and everything else. They've capped the rosters at 105. Now, you can scholarship all 105 if you want, but they were trying to work in the House settlement a cap to that. And I think their argument is, well, if these guys are getting paid, like everybody should be getting paid. I'm like, well, that's not how free market works. I mean, if you're willing to go volunteer, just legs, at McDonald's and scoop the fries, bro, I guarantee you they'll let you do that. Now, they'll pay somebody to probably do it as well if it's a 2-person job. But if you're willing to do it for free, because maybe you're not as proficient as the other person, they'll let you do it. And so there's been a lot of schools that have had problems with this, and I get it and I understand it. And I don't know how they're going to fix it, because it seemed like that was almost something the NCAA really wanted. And now the judges tell him, Claudia Wilkin, that that's a non-starter. This cannot be part of that deal.
Yeah. And to me, here's what I don't like about the 105 is that everybody then is on scholarship, and it kind of eliminates.
Everybody doesn't have to be. Everybody doesn't.
I know, but the limit of 105 is if a school can, they're just going to have 105. And again, I guess it's up to the discretion of the school of those scholarships. But I understand what coaches in college, why they say what they say, and I want you guys to understand why they don't want a cap on this. In the NFL, you have 90 guys, and that 90 goes down to 70 once you get into season, and you only have 53 that are active, and you have 45 that play. In college, that 105 allows you to get a lot more work done within a 20-hour rule during a week of practice, because you have 120 guys, maybe 15 of them being walk-ons, that provide some value on scout teams, and they're part of the program, and there's ways of developing, and then they potentially get on our scholarship. And that's why we all love those stories. And when you go and you cap it at 105, you now are going like, okay, do we only have 85 on roster and we bring in 15, or they are kind of scholarship guys and we give them a little bit of money and they do this? Like that's the finagling that's going on. And everybody that doesn't have the money to pay all 105, they want it as much as you possibly can, because they don't want to be like, well, we can only do this. And again, now we're talking about rules and regulations for schools that don't have the money, or potentially the GSF from donors or NILs, or the proximity of the cities that they live, to be playing by the other rules of the halves, of the blue bloods. And like, you're trying to do all this, which goes back to everything that we're talking about, that you should have 64, 80 teams that are all in on college football, and it is what it is, man. And here's the rules for all of them. And whether you want to play by them or not, GTFO. But to me, I don't like the roster limit on the 105, because we've seen what it can do. There's a guy, good friend of ours, Nate Ebner, walk on Ohio State, end up earning a scholarship, 6th-round draft pick. So happy that he was able to be a part of it. That's what I like it, right? Guys the John Conroys of the world that I bashed his skull in for the 2 years that I was at Ohio State. Thanked him for giving him a good look, but also gave him some brain damage in the meantime. Like, you need those guys, man. You need them. You need them.
You do. And I mean, Nebraska, this is something that they're very upset with. Texas A&M, the 12th man program. And there's a lot of schools that are big into the walk-on programs. Go ahead, Schleiks.
And guys, I just want you guys to understand this too. This is at Ohio State, but it's also across the country. When you're looking at athletic departments, when you're looking at running a business, and we're all, again, the Ohio State University, these are simple things that you can get done. Go in and say, hey, what's the cost of goods sold for an actual degree? Right? Like, what is it? Why are you charging me out-of-state money for a scholar athlete, for an athlete here, when you can just charge me what the cost is? That saves you some money. That gives some more money in the coffers to give full scholarships, when I can reduce that internal cost that I'm giving my own people, right? And say, hey, man, give me cost plus 10%. Thank you, Vance Outdoors, by the way, for that. But give me cost plus 10%. Let's cover the overhead. Let's cover the SGA, right? But like, give me that cost. Let me fill that out. Let me go then raise NIL dollars. Those things have to change. That's just business, guys. That's adjusting with poise. Other schools, get on the bandwagon, figure it out, stop being so freaking siloed, and make it work. But too many people just don't want to freaking work. So anyway,
that's the problem. No, that's the problem, Schleiks. All right, we got our prospect preview coming up in headlines. But first, I want to tell you again about our new partner here, Backer Apparel, premium designed apparel. They got Buckeye jackets, they've got hats, windbreakers, raincoats, winter coats. They're founded by fans who want to make better quality fan gear. Costs a little more than maybe you see in the team shops, but it's better quality. It's built to last. It's like that high-end outdoor gear for skiing, fishing, golf, hunting, all of those things. It's going to last. It's going to be loaded down with tons of features. I've got a couple, like one of the coats. It is absolutely awesome. The windbreaker is fantastic. They're better than anything else out there. So go check them out at Backer. That's BCKR.com. And a portion of every sale on Backer.com is going back to OSU student athletes. Use promo code Bobby, all caps, BOBBY, for free expedited shipping. That is Backer, BCKR.com. Prospect preview and headlines coming up next. All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got our headlines brought to you by our friends at Lake Spur Marketing, full service ad agency built on trust, strategy, performance. Lake Spur team, they're going to shield you and your team from the outside noise, the cold callers. They let you do what you do best, run your business. It's over 100 years in marketing experience. Lake Spur Marketing, they eliminate the waste and they deliver on budget. They don't chase clicks. They build partnerships. Lakeshore, the proof is in those partnerships. All right, headlines with our prospect preview. Mr. Jack Sawyer.
Ooh, Captain Jack.
All right, Schlags, 6'4", 260 pounds, fourth-year senior, almost 23 years of age. Tell us about Captain Jack.
Captain Jack, man. Like, what else do you want, Bob? Throwback guy, leader, somebody that you rally behind, somebody that's going to have, the coach's back, the culture, the program is going to speak that language. Remember, language drives change. Just an absolute grinder. Most important thing, loves football. Go ahead, go over his strengths.
All right, so strengths.
I like it says hulking frame.
Yeah.
That's a great compliment.
Well, Pat said it's all about like girth, thickness, like bulk. All the Buckeye things say that because the guys, they're developed here, so they're strong and they're thick. They've got good girth. Fills out his jersey well. Like, what is this? Is this his Tinder profile or a breakdown?
Come on, Pat. Stop swiping.
Physical hands are his weapon of choice. SWAT, batter and create movement. Use two hands.
Ragdolls.
Stop threatened edge borders. Not a bursty athlete, but rolls into his pass rush well with a head of steam. Some of his best pass rush reps come when he's dipping his shoulder to knife inside the offensive tackle. Ragdolls tight ends when they attempt to square off, which he'll be a really good strong side defensive end going over tight end. Really good in the run game. Stays behind his pad, strikes through the ball, carry on explosive tackles. Showed great timing to get off to the line in critical situations. I mean, i.e. Schlags, Texas. So big dude, physical in the run game, strong.
What was his weaknesses? What was his weaknesses?
Maybe not. That's the next page. Maybe doesn't strikes well, moves well. Maybe not the twitchiest guy you're going to see, but athletic and fluid in space. Now we'll get to his weaknesses.
Okay.
Not a bendy or loose pass rusher. No, he's 260. He probably needs to player mid 260s and be able to use that power. He could probably even really be 270. Doesn't have the burst off the ball or edge speed to clearly beat tackles around the corner, but he's got good hands to be able to do that. Likes deception in his pass rush setup. Doesn't have deep bag of pass rush counters to disengage once locked up. Will be out-levered by long-armed blockers in the NFL. Stiffen his ankles, which means he's obviously not bendy on a big time, leaving tackle production in the backfield. Had a set role, was rarely used across the defensive line up outside, which is what they basically said about JT. It would have been nice to see Jack go down inside some because I think he would have been able to have some success, and that may have changed it. And I think him bulking up to maybe 265, 270, even low 270s would really bode well for him at the next level.
And I'm going to say this too. When you talk about his pass rushing ability, guys, like this ain't just a free for all at Ohio State, man. Like you have a job, you have a responsibility. You had to be an edge setter. Like hell, there's a guy named John Simon, played 10 years in the league. Guess what he did? Set the edge. So again, it's one of those ones like a Emeka. Where do you value him in the grand scheme of what you do? Like Jack Sawyer would be a 100% no-brainer New England Patriot. You know what I mean? Like that's what he kind of embodies everything that Braves is about. He does have better moves. But when you're like, hey, you can only bull rush and you have to stay on this outside edge because that's what they tell you to do. You don't have free reign. We're not going to cover you up with something else. Like, that's what you have to do. And you saw later in the season, in the run, in the playoffs, they did start stunting more. That's why it said on one of those strengths, being able to come inside. Well, that's set up because they've been doing is certain things the entire time. Now that game, right, that stunt happens to be able to play a role. And you're absolutely right, Bob. To be able to have some versatility when they're like, you're not like the speed guy. I don't need him to be the speed guy. I got another guy that's a speed guy. He's like 240 pounds. Like, that's all he does. But the ability for him to go play outside and then work down into a 5 technique potentially into the boundary to set that edge could be something that he's really good at too.
Lastly, before we get out of here, just want to throw this up. The top 10 player teams with the most players in the NFL draft, just as we head on into it, because this number will change after tonight. I'm curious to see if USC has anybody in the first round. Notre Dame, I don't necessarily believe that's going to be the case. I'll have to go look through some mocks. Maybe Ohio State gets a couple. But USC, we can toss that up there, Pat, has the most players drafted with 523. Notre Dame second with 520. Ohio State 487. So not far behind. A strong draft this year will put you over 500.
Yeah.
You'll feel like you're in a good spot. Oklahoma 417, Michigan 412 to round out the top 10. All right, there we go. As we take a look at that, and you can see that's actually first round picks, which you threw up, which Ohio State does lead everybody with first round picks. And hopefully we'll be adding to that bounty tonight. I know Bama may have a couple guys in there, and so we'll see how many guys go on night one. And then we'll take a look at the total draft here ultimately as well and what that looks like. All right. That is it for our headlines. Brought to you by Lake Spur Marketing. Coming up next, we got our tailgate talk where we answer your questions, which I'm sure we've got a ton of questions, lots of draft talk. So why don't you throw those up in the chat and we'll get those answered for you here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back in. Now it's time for our tailgate talk brought to you by friends at Real Truck, where we answer your questions. We had a couple questions from yesterday too, but it got a couple of comments in here that I want to dive into. Will Star saying Jerry Jones is trying to move up to the number 2 and draft Travis Hunter. Cost will equal 3 number 1 picks or at least 2 1s and 2 2s. I don't know. This year, I don't think Jerry's trying to do that because they need more than just one guy. And I don't know. The costs of draft picks are going to be interesting this year because there's certain elite players. So to get up to probably the top 5 is going to cost a lot. Once you start getting out of there, I don't know if teams are going to want to really move a lot, or they may move for less if it's just 2 or 3 spots, because the depth in this draft is so good. And so if you can pick up, a 3rd round pick, if you're going to move from, 20 to 24, like that might be worth it for you because the player you want is probably still going to be there. And you like a lot of players back around the 80 to 100 mark, which is the depth and the girth of this thing. So when I could see some movement happening there, but I don't imagine, I don't think Jerry's going up to do that. I think the Browns ultimately take Travis Hunter, and they've got to develop him. He's got some stuff that he's got to get done as well. Championship winners, Lunatic Fringe. Where do you see Jack Sawyer going and when? If you want to throw that from Lunatic Fringe. I think JT probably goes a little bit ahead of Jack, is from what I'm hearing. Now, this can all change, but I think D-line needy teams really like Jack. You start looking at teams that draft a lot of D linemen, Baltimore, San Francisco, like the Jets, teams like that put a high priority on it. I think JT goes probably somewhere in the top 10 picks of the second round. And then I think Jack possibly goes just a little bit after that. But I could see that both of them taken within 10 to 15 picks of each other.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that. And then there was a great thing. Actually, I saw somebody with Jack going to Cincinnati actually repping the Sam Hubbard 94. And they are very, very similar dudes in that regard. Again, guys, I'm telling you, it's about fits. It's about what people are getting in free agency. And who values the thing that they said about Emeka of what people value is what you're really looking at right now in 2025 in the NFL when it comes to Ohio State Buckeyes. If somebody's valuing Trevion Henderson, and again, what separates Trevion from just everybody else, in my opinion, is pass blocking. And I actually made that statement to the OSU golf team, Bob, about that play and everything that had to happen. And in that play, if Trevion doesn't step up and allow Will to step into that throw, that play doesn't happen. Regardless of the coaches saying, like, hey, are we going to call this play? And they went through all their meetings and they finally called that play. If everybody doesn't do their role, that play doesn't happen. And Trevion is that guy. Like, he is not a liability in pass pro. He has a competitive advantage on the perimeter on a third down in catching the football. And he can also run it. And if you have that other back, they're already on your roster, that is more of like your thumper to give him a blow or a rest. Like, why wouldn't you take that guy? But it's all about what is it that you value. To me, JT, because of, like you said, Bob, that twitchiness, a little like he can fit into a multitude of schemes where I think Jack fits into like a handful of them. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully you get that. And that's why I think, to your point, Bob, regardless of where they go, they're going to kind of like one goes, the other one's going to follow quickly.
T-Bone 303 saying Trevion is the perfect Sean Payton guy. I don't disagree. He's a great player. And Sean Payton, you look historically, loves, the Camaras, the Sproles, like dudes that are versatile out of the backfield, can run routes. And from what I heard, like he did a great job on his pro day here. A lot of people liked him and saw him run more routes than he really didn't do a lot of at Ohio State because they pushed the ball down the field so far. Two more quick questions, Schlags. We'll answer one right now, and then we'll answer one in the parting thoughts. Where's the one? Oh, it's Steely Matt. Donovan Jackson seems to be the most versatile lineman. I think he's a very good pick. I think he's a Houston guy. I've heard Houston's done a ton of work on him. That's why I could see it. And they need some work done on the offensive line. So I could see that being a pick there for him. And he's a guy that I think can play center, like I talked about yesterday. You watched him play tackle, a lot of versatility, so you can kind of plug and play. Really smart dude and a great locker room guy. And I think when you need culture, like Donovan Jackson's a dude that you want. Said he reminds me of Nick Mangold. He's one of my teammates. I told coaches when I talked to him, like, he's a black Nick Mangold. That's who he is. Smart.
So true, man. Smart. He has the same personality, Bob.
Yeah, big personality. I'm like, he's smart, has a big personality, and like really good on the line. Great locker room guy, as we both are good friends and love Nick a lot. All right, coming up next, we'll have our parting thoughts. Is this guy one of the top 5 linebackers all time at Ohio State? We'll find out who we're talking about next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, final segment of the program here, Schlags. The question that came in with, where was it at? From T-Bone 303. Obviously, a guy that's out in Denver. He talked about Sean Payton of the Broncos. Where does Randy Gradishire rank with you guys, greatest linebackers in Ohio State history? He said he's a top 5 player. Listen, Randy Gradishire, part of that Orange Crush out there. He came back, Schlags. He was an honorary captain with us, and I always tell the story when AJ was rushing on contain. And so was I. And he went outside of the running back, and we came over. We got off the field, and Randy Gradishire looks at him. He goes, "Hey, did you have contain on that? And AJ's like, yeah. He goes, come underneath, be the hero, make the play. And Snides was like, no, it's not. Do not be selfish. But Randy, I love him. I've got a chance to meet him. I was so happy he got in the Hall of Fame, Schleiks, because he is everything that you want in a football player.
Yeah, and guys, I don't know top 5. I mean, Bob and I are probably biased. Bob. I'm fortunate enough that I got to play with 2 of the best ever, 3 of the best ever: AJ Hawk, Bobby Carpenter, James Laurinaitis. I mean, like, what are we talking about? But there's so many guys that have come through this program. Guess what? Top 5, right? Like up there.
Oh.
And like people forget about Marcus Merrick, like 36, and Tom Kuzno,
awesome.
right? Like, I mean, there's a lot. Pep Johnson, Steve Tovar, who was here, right? Remember with us, Bob? And like, I think Tovar actually bought us one of those original big screen TVs for our lounge because we didn't have anything. We had nothing. Tovar's like, what the hell are you guys doing? I bought it for us.
We had a TV, but the TV we had was the same one that Tovar was watching. I mean, it was atrocious. And so he like looked at it and then he's like, is that real? I'm like, yeah, it's one I had when I got here. And he's like, that was here when I was here. And then no joke, 3 days later, new TV wheeled in there.
He bought us a TV anyways.
Bought us a TV, man. That was back when no one had any money. That's obviously not the issue anymore. A lot of great ones here, and it's fantastic. All right, tomorrow we'll be breaking down the draft, what Buckeyes went, where did they go, who's back up on deck for rounds 2 and 3, and then ultimately 4 through 7 on Saturday. Check it all out. Stay locked in. Keep watching the Bobby Carpenter Show.